we think it works in. Name another profession that develops or puts their people in the positions that we do without preparing them. There's not another.
No, there's not, because you know why? They're looking at fielding the best people they could possibly get to do that job. And we have lost our vision. We've lost our way in the fire service as a whole to be able to accomplish that. I believe there was a time when that was prevalent, but somewhere we lost our way, man.
Well, we got to be fair. We got to make sure everybody gets a chance to ride up and everybody gets a chance to drive. And, we got to be fair, because those captains, they don't have the courage to say, hey, you don't know how to drive, or you're not a good officer when you step up.
So, it's Matt. I'm going to throw Matt under the bus here real quick. Matt got assigned into a temporary captain's position, and he'll probably be there for a little bit due to the fact that one of our guys is going out on extended medical leave. Matt's maybe ridden up maybe 5-6 times, 3 times. So here you have a guy who's ridden up 3 times as a captain with no training, never done anything. They give him 3 chances to practice at it. And then they say, here's a station by yourself. Oh, and by the way, the guy you have to be in charge of has less than 1 year on the truck.
Yep.
To me, you're setting people up for failure. Matt is a competent fireman, a competent operator, and I think Matt's going to do a great job as a company officer. And I'm not just saying that because he's one of my good friends. I truly believe that about Matt. But if you have people who aren't as into it or aren't going to go out and educate themselves the way Matt has, you're setting people up for failure. And all you're doing is setting your department up for failure and your guys up for failure. And I think it's completely unacceptable to have that as a standard where I work.
And you're letting your citizens down.
So, man, my very first time riding company. We have lieutenants or our company officers. Very first time I did it, the guy driving me has less than 2 years on, and the firefighter I had in the back was either on probation or just off probation. I can't remember which now, but I mean, like, between the 3 of us, we had, good Lord, a decade of fire experience, So very, very young crew. And I just took both of them in first thing in the morning. I took them in and on a whiteboard, drew out kind of my expectations of what I had lined out in my head for a first in, just, this is our game plan. If something changes, I'll tell you kind of deal. And both of them said, I've never had anybody do that for me ever before. So then we went outside
how about that?
Times. And if we had made something that day, it might not have gone, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, right? It might not have gone astoundingly, but I think that we would have had a much better idea of what was going on than some other crews that have 30 years of job experience between them.
I guarantee you.
The problem is you can have all the plans you want, but if you don't have a chief who's backing that shit up, then all the plans don't matter. Like, you got to have that chief on the same page, and that's where our breakdown is chief officer level. We're not preparing people in those ranks, but we're also not enforcing the upper ranking members to be prepared them damn selves. So they're not even on the same page when like you come in and prepare, Chase. They're not on the same page. You make a fire and it's not going to go the way you expect because he's going to be outside blue carding the son of a bitch.
Oh, you got hate on blue card.
You're right, Howard.
Jeremy's a blue card fan.
There's Howie's blue card jab. He gets one a day, I think. There it was.
One of the things I catch the most shit for, that I catch a lot of shit from my peers here in the state from is I one of my expectations is that we all come off the truck very similar. So I task the 3 battalion chiefs with making sure that happens because I don't like surprises and I don't like, things that go crazy. But to hear other fire chiefs talk, they're saying, well, you're creating non-thinkers or you're creating robots on the fire ground or you're not allowing firefighters to be firefighters. And if you think about it, that's absolutely ridiculous. But how many times have you seen a 5-station or 6 or 10-station department do things 20 or 30 different ways? And how long is it going to be before our citizens find out that they have a better chance of survival in Truck 1's district because they do VES versus Truck 5's district because they think it's too dangerous? How do we answer that question?
Right.
Leave 5s out of this.
Do what?
Leave Station 5 out of this.
Station 6.
But we had that problem where the chiefs and our chief officers really weren't behind it, so we just handled it at the company level, and we would change seats. And so the boss would watch me while I would be riding up, and the fireman would be driving, and so he'd be watching both of us. Because fortunately, our captain had worked his way up the ranks. But you'll get those people that skip ranks, and they really don't know the job before them. And so we prepared our people in our firehouse like that. We'd pull them off the ambulance, they'd come right on the truck, or they'd ride on the engine, and we would rotate people. They ain't real freaking happy when they got to get off the truck and the engine go right on the ambulance. I mean, who in the fucking right mind would be? But that was our way of being able to mitigate that, because the reality of it is you're going to be on your own and in charge of some souls on top of being in charge of the citizens. And we want you to be able to be at least relatively prepared, because it's our responsibility. We looked at it like, okay, yeah, so our chief's not going to back it, our administration's not going to back it. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't stop you from doing the right thing.
No, but now you have a firehouse on the other side of town that's not doing that.
Agreed.
Same fire department, same taxpayers paying the same tax, and now you got another group over there that can't get their ass out of the recliners because Jerry Springer's on, and you've got a compromised level of service. that frightens me in the future.
Well, how do you manage that? How do you manage the you have, like you said, the one crew that's willing to get out there and they're willing to train, they're willing to go ahead and make themselves the best they can, and then you got the other station that wants to do the best.
It's like Rick said, it's got to start at the top. It's got to start at the top. That fire chief has got to talk to his ops chiefs, whoever, and say, listen, one department, one mission, basically one way on the essential stuff. And that's got to trickle down to your shift commanders, to your company officers, to your senior members, and say, hey, this is our way of doing things. So if somebody swings or somebody works overtime or a new officer comes into the house, there's a consistent level of service when we step off the truck.
Can't call an audible if you don't have a play.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
if you call
right.
a play, you better have practiced it, Otherwise, it's just not having one. Well, it pains me to say local was behind a lot of that. They kind of ran our department. They said it wasn't fair and that they're not going to condone paying the overtime. It's just retarded. So that's why we took it upon ourselves to do that. And what we found through the Palm Beach County Fools, we just use peer pressure. You want to be good at your job? Okay, good. This is the way we do it, and we do training. And so it would be a stark difference when we do a countywide training. We got 50 plus firehouses and they're running through these mandatory, trainings up at headquarters. And that you would notice there were particular, like the 3rd Battalion, you didn't have to worry about them. You knew that they were going to do a good job. But now you get the 4th or the 5th Battalion, and the 4th Battalion is known for its gravity storms. So, Mrs. Smith or Mrs. Jones falls down, and they're picking them up like 50 a day. It's crazy. It's like fruit falling off a fucking tree, And so, and it's hard to get these guys motivated if you approach them the right way through the fools. We would inspire them and tell them, look, you're a fireman. You may get that one job, but that job that you're going to get, it's not a residential. It's a commercial alarm. Because you got McMansions down there. Be ready. Be vigilant. Train hard. And so we try to inspire them and get them to open doors. I mean, at some point, you have to be the voice. At some point, you have to take that on, and that's what we did through the Fools, and we changed our training. But you know what? We would joke. We called it the 10-10-80 principle. 10% of your department make you shine, 10% shot in the head. They ain't got a chance to hell. They ain't never going to change. But 80% rides a fence. Influence them. Peer pressure to your advantage, and hopefully the others will follow. I mean, we didn't have any other way.
Well, and I'm jumping ahead, but I really think we can change that with mentoring.
Agreed.
If we have a chance, I believe mentoring is the future of leading and learning in the fire service. And I think that's the only way, Rick, that we're going to address what you're talking about, is to make it personal and have a senior guy come up to a junior guy and say, hey, listen, this is the way we do it. And let me show you how. And there's no exception.
You know the funny part, Scott, sometimes we get a junior guy and he's junior in our department, but he got time on another department and he'll be pulling the senior man up. That's a fucking shame.
But let's talk about that. All these things, you know, like Portland and Mile High and all the conferences. You know, my two sons go to Wichita Hot. They go to all those things. And if you have a company officer that doesn't go to any of those things, now the officer is the least skilled guy in the house. He's got the experience, but he hasn't been to training. And all these offerings, I tell you, the officer could be the least skilled guy in the house. And then what happens? Then you got isolation, you got animosity, you got egos. That's going to cause a real problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to cause it.
I think to affect an organization, you have to have a culture shift, and you know, in doing that with our organization, for example, we've taken and changed the entire promotional policy. So now instead of taking a written test that you studied for 30 days and then you become a shitbag after you take your test and get your job, now I'm scoring you all the time. You're always up for promotion. So your annual evaluation, your physical fitness testing, your points. I give points if you go to a conference. So your points for your conference and then your years of service, all those come into one to promote you. So I want the whole goddamn package. I don't want just somebody who read a book and passed a written exam.
So then what do you do then when the union comes in and fights that?
That's what they did with us. I wanted to do exactly what Howard was talking about. And what they told me was, well, why are you making it so hard? And I said, well, I guess that's one way to look at it. I just thought I was making them better. You know?
See, I'm in a right to work state, so I can do whatever I want.
That's why we're having this conversation is because the minimum standard's so low.
Yeah. And you know what they call it? It ain't the minimum standard anymore.
But it's high as hell.
Yeah. And at some point it becomes the maximum standard, which is sad.
Well, the word standard means minimum. And people don't take that. So anything, if something is below standard, that means it's failing. Standard is 70%. And that's lost on a hell of a lot of people that, oh, well, I did it this one fucking time. Well, hey, here's your gold star, buddy. You know,
but there's more departments than not that don't even have a standard. So what do you do with that? They don't even have a minimum failure rate. They're just like, hey, come in and you're breathing and you're upright, you're good.
Louisiana is.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm north of the border.
You can have the best plan in the world, but then you don't have a chief who's on the same page. It's just going to fail. It has to start with the chief. It absolutely has to start with the chief, and the chief has to get balls because they're too scared to fire people. Is the problem? Just fire
everything up.
I mean, you'll end up
screw everything up.
Yeah, well, they can fix a lot of shit too if they get the balls to just fire somebody. Have minimum standards for your current employees, not just people you're hiring. Like, I have to pass a minimum standard to get a job, but I don't have to do anything after I get my job. Why don't I have to pass minimum standards throughout my entire career?
You should.
Yeah.
You know, Rick, you said, you know, look at Louisiana, and there's a bunch of us on here who are, you know, we're in Louisiana. And it's tough the way our civil service law is written. I mean, if you go by the state, what the state's going to tell you, I don't care about certifications. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. They just want to go by time on the job. And it's hard to set these standards on people. I know my department was going through a thing where we're trying to change the standards to be captain. And my department has some of the strictest requirements to make captain. They require umpteen certifications and college and all of this, and I'm in favor of it because and the way I look at it is if you're going to go out and get all those certifications in that college, you're at least wanting to put the effort into it. Granted, we can go and challenge the test. You don't have to go sit in a class and actually learn it. You can study it, like you said, for 30 days and go pass the test. But at least you're putting in some sort of effort into wanting to obtain that position and showing you're wanting to grow yourself in some sort of way. Whereas if you don't have any sort of standard or you have the super low standard, you're just promoting whoever the next warm body is into that seat. And then it goes back to, like we said before, we're putting people in these positions that aren't prepared to be in their position. I just think we're shooting ourselves in the foot by doing that, by setting the bar low and saying, hey, as long as you're breathing and you can walk into the station every third day and put your gear on the rig and don't break the fucking rules, we're going to say you're a captain. I just don't think that's the right way to do it. I think our captains need to be people who are going to, be mentoring guys and showing them the way to do things and teaching them and showing them how to, be good firemen, good operators, and then be a good company level officer. But if we don't have that standard set, we're just promoting any Tom, Dick, and Harry who wants to be a captain, and you're just setting yourselves up for failure. And like you said before, Rick, it's not really us that it affects. It's the people out there who depend on us. And that's what bothers me is a lot of people will say, oh, well, blah, 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 the citizen. And it's like at the end of the day, that's the people we're here for. We're not here for
while you're there.
them.
Yeah.
I did something in the North Texas area here, and we got a lot of we're all career departments, big, well paid. And part of the research for the book, I would talk to company officers and firefighters who say, no, we go out and do it all. And I did something different. I didn't do this to trick anybody up. I didn't want to know names, but I started talking to paramedic students and EMT students who just came from those firehouses after 10 shifts. And it was amazing how many of them said they didn't even see the crew unless they were at the dinner table or on a call. And the typical day was come in, put your shit on the truck, and go to bed. And that I believe personally that happens in more places than it doesn't.
Agreed.
I do too, and I kind of agree. The certifications and degrees and stuff, that's all good and fine and dandy. I put out a post on Facebook to piss some people off. A degree and a certification does absolutely nothing for me at 3 a.m. when we're pulling hose off the truck. And the same people that are coming in, putting their shit on the truck and going to bed as soon as they get there, they have degrees. So I want standards that are action-based, something I can see, feel, touch, and confirm that you know your job. I don't really care about degrees and certifications. I care about conferences and action. So, and as far as people who are not meeting that minimum standard as far as action, train them out of the fire department. Get them and train them out of the fire department because they're not going to hang around when you're training. So flush those turds down the damn toilet.
Especially when the degree is in underwater basket weaving or something. It's got nothing to fucking do with the job.
Yeah.
When we did a class in Louisiana. We were in LSU. We did a class. And we were just talking like we were anywhere else. Well, Ken Himmel comes with us to dinner, and he says, Rick, there's no state certification in this state. And, some of the departments are, if you can fit in a uniform, you got it. And I was fucking floored. I had no idea that anybody did shit like that. And so the big fight is you can have a department like what Travis was talking about where they require these things, and the department next to you doesn't require shit. And now you're running a mutual aid call, and you don't know what you're getting. And it's a cascading effect.
Oh, that
affects all of us now. Yeah.
You know what's coming.
Sadly. Yeah, you'll and it's not reassuring either. And it's going to take more than one flush to get enough to flush it.
Yeah, and at our department, and I think with a lot of other departments right now,
sometimes you got to push them down.
There's a lot of officer development, which is cool, but if you want to make good officers, make good firefighters.
Amen.
Yeah, amen, brother.
You got to have that vision on how to do that.
There's this thing that business world does. It's called cross training.
Yeah.
We fail miserably at cross training.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's the bottom line of what we're talking about here. In my personal opinion, is there's a lack of leadership. And it's not necessarily at the white hat level, it's at the red hat level. If you got a bunch of guys that come in and put their shit on the truck and go to bed, that's a fucking leadership issue. Pardon my French.
Yep.
That red hat needs to get off his ass and run them slugs off, man. When I get a new guy, we train 12, 14 hours a day, and we build a culture. Because if I can affect that guy's culture, I can affect the next shift's culture that he goes in.
We're going to see how fucked up everybody else.
Build a culture change at the company will be a lot better off. And that's just my personal opinion, And see, if you have total control over the Wi-Fi that we have at this fire station here, make some calls.
It starts at the top.
Right.
Who talked about cross training? Who made that comment?
That was Howard.
Rick Howard.
Well, I'm struggling with this right now, and this is something I'm spending a lot of time thinking about. You know, we went from the Quint concept to an engine and truck deployment model, and I'm really wondering how long we can continue. And I came up through it. It's not that I disagree with it, but I'm wondering how long we can go with expecting everybody to do everything in a highly technical, very demanding environment.
You
Yeah,
can't. That's
agree.
where they came up with the
I
TRT.
think you can't cross train, and I'm gonna be on a ladder truck engine hazmat. I'm gonna go poke people on the finger and see what their blood glucose levels are or whatever. But I do think a driver should be cross trained to ride as a captain, and a captain be cross trained to ride as a.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you on that. No, I agree
Yeah.
with you on that. But that's
what I was talking about.
You get a guy who rides the engine, 100 shifts a year, and then he bounces over to the truck for one shift, and he hadn't done truck work in 100 shifts, and now you're ordering him to the roof, ordering him to do whatever truck work is. You're setting him up for failure, and we seem to think that people.
Yeah, he's a master at everything and a jack off at nothing.
Yeah,
well,
and
it's the guy that put him on there that you got to look at. Yeah,
because it's fair. It's his turn. Hey,
Yeah.
Cap, it's my turn to ride the truck.
That's we tell them, fuck fair. Life ain't fair,
Yeah.
bitch. Suck it up.
Yeah,
man.
the fair is someplace you go to have fun.
So,
Yeah.
well, we see a lot
I
of
like that. I like that. I'm gonna use that.
we'll see a lot of stuff like that where you sit in your house for the majority a year or two, and then you move. But what we also see is when you get out there, you're unprepared, you're untrained, and you fuck up, and that's when they decide to develop you, and they're going to develop you by punishing you.
Right.
Yeah. It's reactive instead of proactive.
I was just gonna say, did they really even develop?
It's easier to blame you than themselves.
Did they really even develop you? Because I think there's, at least from what I see, I think there's a big problem with underdevelopment of people. I mean, we leave it on people to go and train themselves and learn themselves and expect them to then come and everybody work together. And it's not going to gel.
No cohesiveness.
We talk about guys being cross-trained to do specific things. I look at my department, we're a pretty small department. We got 5 stations. We got 4 engines, a Quint, and a rescue. So what was that, Callan?
Rescue.
Yeah. So you show up and you can have an engine company being assigned to go in and do a primary search. You got an engine company being assigned ventilation, and it's like I'm never able to just hone in and be a good truckie or a good engine guy because I constantly have to be ready to do whatever it is that I'm being tasked with. And I think when you have that, you're setting the bar here, saying we just need to be decent at everything instead of having guys who are going to be excellent at engine and guys who are excellent on the truck and guys who are excellent at rescue things. We're saying everybody just needs to be decent so we can all, right? As long as the fire goes out, we did our job, right? Which is, to me, it's unacceptable.
That becomes the standard.
What's the most prevalent in that is my department. We got about 1,500 people in combat, right? They put everybody through RIT training because they never know who the RIT is going to be. And that's one of those things that you've got to, you should have a dedicated RIT. Because you need to know when it's RIT and when it's a technical rescue. You start moving shit around and there's been a collapse, you're going to make things worse. So we don't have those people that are thinking like that and forward thinking like that. We think that, what we do? We show up on RIT. You know who gets it? Rescue. And you know what the rescue is? The ambulance. You know who's on the ambulance? The fucking most junior guys. What kind of experience do they have? Those are the people that you're going to put in charge of taking care of our people when they get jammed up.
But it's easy and it's convenient. That's why we do it.
My favorite thing are those guys that we're what do they say? Jack of all trades, master of none, and then they compare us to Navy SEALs. It's like, how in the fuck do you think Navy SEALs operate? No. You think that they have just any guy that cycles through, like if you've read Chris Kyle's book, that American Sniper book, like, do you think that they just rotated that through and he just got lucky for a couple days and got the most confirmed kills. No, he was their guy. That's what he did. That's how they operate. And don't compare us to that if that's not how we're going to fucking act. Sorry. But
Agreed.
I just feel like the further
Y'all don't have
up
to
you go, the
apologize
less
for saying more
accountability there is.
What'd you say, Catlin?
The further up you go, the less accountability there is. We got you got captains in charge of the operators, and once you go to chiefs some chiefs don't even attend the training to see that you've got weak companies, or if they do, they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings and say, I just had you do a primary search and it took you 30 minutes to search the first floor. They're not going to say anything to them. So if something happens, the rescue's out, or it's at the far end of the district and you got to assign that engine to a primary search, I wouldn't want to be there. And just from fire chief and deputy chief and chief of ops to the other level, there's no accountability. They'll slap their hand for little administrative things, but nobody knows how they operate on scene. Our training chief is probably the most proactive guy we have. Luckily, he's pretty much our saving grace. And he, we recently started officer development again. I mean, you got Matt who just made captain. I've been on the rescue for 8 out of my 9 years, and I'm about to be a captain on an engine. And there's no concern that I've been trying to study up, and I went to the lift conference and took Kyle's class, and I've done a couple things. We've been out flowing water in the parking lot and stuff, but just because we do and the operator from the engine doesn't mean everybody's going to do that. So you might wind up with somebody who has absolutely no clue winding up there just because they made the time finally.
You know what it is? I wrote about this. I put out an article, and I kind of just let it all out there and just kind of let my emotions go into this article that I wrote. What I'm finding is you have these company officers and these chief level officers that are afraid to hold people accountable to a standard that should be met by everybody in the fire service. They're afraid to tell somebody that they fucked up. They're afraid to tell somebody that they're doing something wrong because they don't want to not be buddy-buddy with that person. It's more important for people to say, hey, I want to be your friend. This way our station life is great, as opposed to saying, hey, I want to be your leader and I want to make you the best fireman you can be. And we'll worry about the friendship stuff afterwards. Understand that what I'm doing is not personal. It's business. I need you to be the best you can be. But they're afraid because if you hold people accountable, you're considered an asshole. And you get that label asshole. And you're a pusher, and you don't let, you constantly want guys to do stuff, and you're an overachiever and whatever it is, all these names that people want to put at you. So it's easier for people to say, you know what, I just want to be their friend. I'm not going to worry about it. And if we're not holding each other accountable, who's going to fucking hold us accountable? Because the public out there doesn't know. They don't know. They call 911, right? They expect the fire truck to show up. They expect us to get off the truck, go into their house, search for their family members, and put the fucking fire out. They don't know, and they think we're the best there is at it because that's what we tell them we are. But we have officers and chiefs who are too afraid to go ahead and set a standard and hold people to it. And those people are too afraid to understand that, hey, it's not personal, it's business. I need to set a standard, and we've got to hold everybody to it.
I think that's coming. I went to a Lone Star Fools meeting earlier this month, and one of the guys there brought up a really good point that I hadn't thought about yet. He said that he thinks we were talking specifically about Polk County and that incident and the fallout that's come from that. And he said that he believes that the 9/11 honeymoon phase, he called it, is over, and that the public's leniency for us is going to go away. Because if you look at what PD is going through everywhere now, everybody's got this cell phone out. Everybody's doing this no matter where we go. Everybody's recording everything on scene, and people are going to start pointing that stuff out. I think that's going away where this accountability thing is going to start getting in a big way with us too.
Yeah, I took the brass tacks class at the Lift conference, and that's what I forget the guy, the big tall instructor.
Chris
said,
Martin.
Yeah, we're lucky. We're lucky the public doesn't know what goes on in there. Sometimes you get in there and you choose the wrong size hose. Or you're not aggressive and
Brownies are ready, and it may
Brownies.
I mean, everybody likes brownies.
you're gonna put every fire out eventually. It just depends on where you catch it. So you might put it out at 7 a.m. tomorrow when it's just a pile of rubble, but the public doesn't know. They're like, oh man, that must have been unsavable. So
I think it was Ray McCormick posted up. He said if pilots flew like we pull hose, nobody would ever get on a plane. And it's too true.
Sad. You know, that video camera stuff might be our saving grace. Might start holding people accountable. Might start fucking falling down back on chiefs, you know. I always had this contention that as people started coming back from the Middle East theater, that we would start getting more leaders in the fire service. And I think that's been true to a certain point, but at some point you have to give these people a stage or equipment to work with. So mentoring and leadership is a huge deal, but when your culture is like the culture in my department, where it was everybody's second job seemed to be their primary thing, and they would come to the firehouse and go to sleep as long as they checked their truck and did all their responsibilities, the officer gave them that leniency. But, you know, and the punitive aspect of it was if somebody screwed up, we were doing hose drills, you know, after midnight. It wasn't a very proactive thing, and I think it's kind of a knucklehead mentality rather than how do people learn? What's the best way to affect them? What's a way to instill this in them that they understand that, look, this is the job and this is why this is the job. This is why this is important, you know? I just don't think we have a lot of those skills in the positions of need that they need to be. Everybody wishes they had a fucking fire chief like Scott. Fuck, I wish I did. Or Howard, you know?
You're too kind, brother.
Yeah, but in my department, you know what happens to them? They get fucking marginalized. They get moved out because now they need to bring somebody else that's coming up through the ranks into that battalion to learn how to run it. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Why don't you learn before you come rather than destroy the battalion that's done all the jobs?
So what's the best way that we can bring this stuff up to our chiefs? I mean, I'm about to test for our company officer. We have young guys that feel the same way that we're talking about. I think we're 10 years away from some real change in the fire service overall. These older guys that came up in the generation that we're kind of talking about right now, this like what Kyle was saying earlier, that are emotionally attached to that fog nozzle and whatever else. But in the meantime, I mean, that's a decade away. We've got some chief officers in here, some upper guys. Like, how would y'all suggest that we bring that to the attention of the powers that be? I mean,
go out and train, and collect your data, and do everything that you need to do. Do your homework, and put it all in front of them. When they say, "Give me 4 pages on a conference that you just went to," write 30, and then make them realize that they don't know what they're talking about. They need to give you some room. That's the best
Chase,
you can do.
Oh, Chase, I get asked that question all the time. And there's a lot to that. Do your homework, come in with a solution and not just a problem. But the big thing is you got to remove the emotion from it. Anytime somebody comes in and says everybody and nobody, that's an indicator that it's, but if you remove the emotion, you do your homework, and you come in and you present facts and say, this is what's going to help us be a better organization, that's very, very, very hard to ignore.
We talked a little bit before it got brought up, and I know one of our other topics for tonight was mentorship and developing that in our departments, because that's going to be the way that we're going to change the future, is mentoring the people underneath us and getting them to have the passion for the job that we do. There's 15 people here right now because we chose to be here, right? We all want to be here and make a difference at our department. mentorship, us mentoring younger people is going to be the way that we're going to change the future of the fire service. And like Chase said, I think the change is going to be about 10 years because there's this push in our generation to be that good fireman and practice firemanship and be into the job and all that good stuff. And it's going to take a little bit of time to get those people in positions where they can affect the changes in their departments. But Chief Scott, if you want to talk about the mentorship program that y'all have at your department, because from what I've been told, it's one of the best ones out there. And I'd like to just hear what you guys do personally, because I'm going to try and start one at my department, but I think everybody else would be interested in hearing how you guys
have him come out and do a fucking workshop on it.
Yeah. No.
I fucking wish, Rick.
Oh, serious.
No,
I mean,
I believe.
What better way than hearing it from the horse's mouth?
Guys, I'm serious when I say I believe with everything that I believe that mentorship is going to determine our future survival. We jumped into it about 10 years ago, and Rick Lasky and I had the first discussion when I went to work for him, and we were talking about some of the things that were going on. But I'm going to say millennials, but even beyond the millennials, you got to make the job personal. This job has to be personal. Everything we do is personal, from roll call to the firehouse environment to the people we deal with. It's all personal, and that's exactly what mentoring does. And there's no way that we can pass on the institutional knowledge, the skill set at the technique level without mentoring. So what we did is ours is very formal, and my vision is when we hire a new candidate, and we call our mentorees candidates because I hate the word mentoree. But when a new candidate signs up to come to work for the Colony Fire Department, we assign them a mentor, and it's not by popularity, it's not by it's his turn or any of that. It's somebody who we want to be our advocate for the process. And he'll call him and say, hey, what time are you going to get to work tomorrow? And, 6 o'clock, he says, I'll meet you out in front of the station. And we want the first words that a new member of our organization hears is, it's not okay to die in a fire, but you may be asked to do things that will result in your death. Okay, now think about that. That's common sense shit. But if it comes from a senior member with the salty mustache and the nasty helmet, and that's the first words that the people in your organization are hearing, how does that set the hook for what goes on? And then he takes them inside, and the mentor introduces them to the firehouse. Hey, guys, this is so-and-so. He's from so-and-so. And then the first day, our candidates are treated like a visitor in the firehouse because there's so much anxiety and there's so many things to learn. And that's when they say, okay, you're a visitor today. You don't have to put in the food kitty. We're going to treat you good today. But next shift is when we get real. And you're going to have to make the coffee. You're going to have to raise a flag. You're going to have to fill the senior guy's cup. You're going to have to clean the toilets, blah, 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 blah. And not because it's a punishment. It's developmental. We've all had to do it. And then we have 5 stages to our program. And the first one is to orient them to the position, to develop them in that position, to prepare them to act at the next level. So a firefighter going to driver going to captain. To master the basics, get really good at the technique level, and then to pass it on to where they take on a mentoring or teaching role and pass some of it on. So that's our process, and we do it for new hires and newly promoted. So we got mentoring going on all the time. And I tell you, I believe in that more than I believe in a lot of things. I'm more willing to go back to fog nozzles than I am give up our mentoring program. That's it in a nutshell.
So let me ask, how'd you lay the foundation for that, other than being the chief and saying this is how we're going to do it?
Well, in Louisville, I was a training chief, and I had to go sell to all the company officers. And so the first thing you have to do is you got to get the chief to buy in. And I've kept track of all over the last 20 years. I've sent our mentoring program out to a lot of people, and I'll tell you this: a large percentage of them fail. And that's because it's not supported by the chief. You got to get buy-in from the chief. He's got to be the head cheerleader, and the chief has got to make it work. Because you think about some guy who's willing to step up and be the mentor, and he's taking on this additional responsibility. If he starts getting his balls busted in the Firehouse and are saying, we're not doing that shit, we're not going to go throw ladders, it doesn't stand a chance. So the chief has got to start it out and has got to say, listen, this is for all of our good. If we solve the problems now and bring these guys into the organization correctly, we're not going to have to worry about them in 20 years when they're not producing. And I ask you this question: what do you do about a company officer that has no ambition?
I don't know. That's a hard one to deal with.
That is, you can't force ambition. You can't teach ambition. You can only motivate ambition. And that's what mentors do. It's a proactive approach to work. You know me, I'm a big culture guy. And your mentors are the one who's really sell that chosen culture and get everybody positioned to go forward in a unified manner that all meets one mission of save lives and protect property. I'm done now.
How do you pick the mentors? Is it the senior guys? Is it the guys that do they sign up to volunteer for it? Or
no, it's the guys who have proven. It's the guys that have proven that they get it. Now, I don't want to hijack this show, but we do what we call a company contribution exercise every year. So the battalion chiefs really rank all of their people. Now, I don't want to know the names. I don't want to make it personal, but I want the numbers. And we have 8 categories. The first category is friction. Those are the people that no matter what you do, they're gonna go against you. They're you know the guys. They're constantly pointing at the bad shit. They're never contributing to the solution. The next one is the employee, the one that's just there for the paycheck and the benefits. And we got to have room for those guys, because when we sit down and we offer them a job, that's that minimal standard thing. The next group are the undecided, and that's our most important group, because they can go either way. They can go fall down to the employee level and just be there for the paycheck, or they can go to the group number 4, which are the ones that get it. You know, that's an intangible thing of the ones that have what it takes. The next group are effective supervisors, and we go on to committed followers, courageous leaders, and functional leaders. So we do this every year, and we actually track how our hiring, mentoring, and promotional process is doing. And you know, it's got a tremendous amount of value, because we can see people. We have 4 officers today that as firefighters they were not respected, but I believe because of the mentoring program that today there are highly respected officers, and they were not respected as firefighters. So you can impact change in your organization through a mentoring program.
So you put a lot of thought into this, because that's not something you just come off the cuff with. You know that. So I wasn't kidding when I said go out there and do a workshop, and if you're not doing them, you should be doing them, because I think that's probably one of the best models that I've heard of, you know, in a long time. There's a couple models out there that work, but I'm not kidding, bro. You gave me a freaking chub talking like that. That's the kind of stuff that works. It's the stuff that works. I mean, and when you take a rookie and you walk him through the steps like that, and you mentoring him, well, you know, mentoring, part of the byproduct of that is creating leadership skills, you know, and you get them to understand. So in our book, I dedicated a chapter just to character, because character it's the foundation. In my opinion, it's the foundation of leadership. And if you don't understand how that works, your road to leadership is going to be reading countless freaking dribble books about what you should be doing, rather than understanding how that changes you as a person, and how that person shows up on the job is everything. Yep. Dude, I'd love to fly you out here to my old department and have you do a workshop for them. And I'll tell you why, because it's almost impossible to be a freaking prophet in your own land. You know, people think that they've got you figured out and they know what you're doing. You know, you're either this fire fag, or you've got some ideas that, you know, you're just some weird notion that they have, and they just don't understand the real nature of what it's like to see. When you have a program like that, you understand the necessity for having to work every rank, and why every little thing does what it does and how you're building a foundation for the future, so that when you do get into that battalion chief, that district chief, that deputy chief position, you'll understand how to support your people. I think when you fail as a leader, you break a sacred trust with your people. And when you don't have true followers, it's because you don't have true leadership, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And Rick, you're right on the mark. And we let those people slide through. You know, I believe personally, company officer is the most impactful person in our organization.
Agreed.
They make or break me. If my company officer's not on board, I don't have a chance. Okay. And I'll get personal for a minute and talk about my sons. One works in Dallas and one works in Arlington. They're great kids. The only advantage that they have is that they were exposed to the fire service before they went to Firehouse. Okay. That's mentoring. They got to see me doing all my things. So you give these kids coming in who don't have that, they don't have a dad or brother or whatever in the fire service, and you start mentoring them, you bring them up to speed so that they understand the firehouse environment. They understand how they're going to be looked at, how they're going to be measured, but most importantly, how they're going to succeed. And it's, you know, be good at the job and invest in your character and all those things. And if we miss that, man, we can't regain it at 20 or 15 years. It just doesn't work that way.
If we miss that, we failed. We failed our mission. We failed our fire service. We failed our citizens. We failed ourselves. We failed all the way across the board.
Yep.
Chief, I got questions. How do you deal with in your department? It's a two-part question. In your department, I'm assuming your people are assigned to a station and they stay at that station, and they work underneath that mentor for that whole first year program, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how would you handle the fact that person is most like, for my situation, that person is more likely than not is going to be moved around to a few stations within a month. Let's just say every month they're going to move to a couple of different stations based on manpower needs. How would that mentoree, I guess the word, I'm not sure the exact word, but how would you maintain that relationship with that person?
Well, being the chief, okay, why are we moving that person around? Because he's the lowest on the totem pole, and the senior guys don't want to swing or fill in those shifts, okay? We got to spend that first year investing in that person. We got to leave him with a supervisor and a mentor who can teach him and evaluate him. So I just went into Fort Worth recently and talked about this mentoring program, and Fort Worth was doing that. Your new guys, you don't have a home for, a year. So that's a sacrifice you have to make. If we want to develop our people, think about this. I mean, just think about when you walked in the firehouse and all the shit you had to learn and all the things you got to do. Is that really the best time to be moving that guy from station to station to station?
Absolutely.
I mean, let's just talk common sense.
Right.
Right. So we say, okay, listen, 3 months, make it 3 months even. Let's make it minimal. For 3 months, this guy's not going anywhere. His captain's going to get to know him. His driver, his senior guy, and his mentor is going to get to know him. He's going to know what his capabilities are, what his limitations, what he values, what his goals are, and we'll work with that. And after that, then we'll talk about swinging him. But to bring a new guy into a firehouse on day one, and on the next shift he goes to another firehouse, man, you're going to get what you're going to get.
Do you guys utilize a FOO, a fire operations officer, that fills seats and stuff and figures out what the role is going to be? So if a guy's out on vacation, sick, injured, whatever, he's got to fill a seat.
Well, the battalion chiefs do that. The battalion chief, the shift commanders do that. But our new guys are protected. They're going to be with their mentors, shadowing and be with their mentors for 3 solid months and 6 months after that. So when somebody signs up to be a mentor, we're saying you're not taking off for 3 months. You're going to be with your mentee, your learner, your candidate, whatever you want to call them, for 3 months. And every tour of duty, and we ride from 3 to 4. So I got permission from my boss to increase staffing on that rig, so that we're adding that new firefighter with his or her mentor for 3 months as a 4th person on the rig. And our staffing is 3. So there's a little bit of cost to it.
We tried to do that, and it didn't go long. We tried to do that, and we didn't want that person to count against the staffing because they were being mentored, and they'll it just blows my mind how they're willing to go to, I do work in South Florida, which is, St. Pete's waiting room, but it blows my mind how they'll do that for a paramedic, and make him stay because he's got to learn his job, but they won't do the requirement.
And that's exactly what we did, Rick, is we mirrored our paramedic program. We said, we're doing this with our medics on the ambulance. Let's do it on the fire truck. So what we turned around is our new guys can't even ride the ambulance until they're done with their fire mentoring.
I love it. I think that speaks to what Travis was talking about before, about how you get those things in operation and how you structure them. I don't think that we need to reinvent the wheel. I think that there are models like yours that are great. They apply anywhere, in any department. Sure.
And we're a small department. We're not a big department. We're a 3-station department. I got 24 people per shift. I mean, it causes the shift commanders a little bit of stress, just like with our designated engine and truck. It's very easy to come in and just throw bodies someplace. It's a little more difficult to say we're going to have the truck guys on the truck, the engine guys on the engines, a mentor with his mentee. It takes a little extra work, but the dividends it pays is tremendous.
You're looking at skilled positions with skilled people, that rather than, our chief is he's a fire administrator, not really a chief, because the chief is, chief leads his tribe, but a fire administrator just makes sure that all the freaking checks and balances are done. The seats are filled. You got an ass in every seat. We're keeping overtime down because we'll step somebody up that's on a promotional list because they're on the list, and that's how they're going to get their experience. It's insanity. It's crazy. It doesn't.
Now I'm going to blow everybody's mind here for just for a minute, and I don't want an answer right now. But think about this: how do you define success in our profession? Most people will say the fire goes out and everybody goes home, but that's all luck. But I've asked that question to hundreds, if not thousands, of fire chiefs. How do you define success in the fire service? And they get all cross-eyed and stuttering because we don't have any kind of standard of how to judge our wins and losses. So imagine if I was a football coach and I didn't know what I was. Yeah, exactly. So I go to work every day. If I'm a fire chief who doesn't know what fire service success looks like, what do I work towards every day? That scares me.
The culture that they were raised in, the wrong culture.
I can tell you in the Colony, Texas, I can tell you in 15 seconds in the Colony, Texas, it's take care of people, them and us. Number 2 is prevent or solve problems. Number 3 is manage risk inside and outside the firehouse. And number 4 is maximize our operational capabilities. If we're doing those things, I'm a happy chief.
Chief, you've got departments that don't even. Well, our city has a mission statement that we used to put on the side of the trucks, but we don't even do that anymore. So you're talking about something that like you said, you're going to blow some people's minds.
It's rocket science, right? It's brain surgery.
Yeah. That's an attainable mission statement. You couldn't fit your mission statement for my department on a paper this fucking big, when people know what it is. It's like it's just unrealistic.
So what do you tell a new guy coming in? What do you tell this new guy that wants to do great? And he says, hey, Cap, tell me what I got to do to be successful. What do you tell that guy?
They're told sit down and shut up.
Yeah. Sit down, shut up.
First thing he's done is marginalized. Go clean the dishes.
Don't face the TV. Go clean the toilets. Don't ask any questions. And the millennials aren't going to put up with that. And that's not a dig at millennials, but millennials want purpose. They want to feel part of the team. They want to be valued. And those are all very reasonable expectations. And I'm not bragging our organization, but in 10 years, we've had nobody leave. Nobody has gone to any other fire department. We're right next to Plano and Frisco. Not one person has left. And it's because our captains and our shift commanders understand the culture and they want to invest in our guys and make them feel important.
So, Chief,
y'all haven't lost a single guy to Plano?
Not a single person. We haven't had anybody leave to go anywhere. we've had a couple early on go the private sector when the economy was low. They went to the oil fields, but we have not had one person in 10 years go to another fire department.
Chief, when you have leadership that doesn't support your desire for culture change, or maybe not even support, they just don't want to be a part of it because they feel like they have bigger things to take care of. How can a guy like me, I've got four plus years at my department, I'm an operator. How can a guy like me, at my level, go ahead and influence change on these people and get them to start moving in the right direction? And how do I get my chief to say, hey, we do need a mentorship program, or, this is going to help the department be better off 5 years, 10 years from now?
You don't get the chief. What you be is the role model for success, and you influence the people you can influence. Okay? You're going to have people that come to you and look towards you. And I always say it's one person, one drill at a time. You can't change a department. You can't go in and change a chief who's not willing to change, but you influence the people that you influence. And I've never heard a chief come out and say, I don't want you to be better, but you got to influence your company. And the captains, be the best fire company in the city. Be the best engine operator in the city. Be the best junior firefighter in the city. And if you do that, sometimes that's all you can do. But I guarantee you people are watching, and eventually you're going to say, hey, I want to be like that. And I know that sounds kind of like a cop-out, but we tell our people it's the big 5 and the next 5 for the first 5. So that means be real good at the 5 basic things in the next 5 minutes for the first 5 minutes. And that's what we focus on.
We did the same thing. We because we weren't getting the support from above.
Yeah.
We just did it at the company level. And
that's all
our
you can
company
do.
is, your company gets so solid that when you show up on a job, nobody even has to talk. Everybody already knows what they're doing.
And that gets noticed, Rick. Everybody notices that. Everybody goes, I want to be like those guys.
Yeah. They may not say it, but when they end up floating in, we bring them into the fold because you're one of us now. That's why
the book I wrote focuses on a fire company, man. It's a fire company at a time. You have a solid fire company, you've done good.
And eventually what's going to happen, Trav, or anybody else that has that problem, is you develop a core of people that start to think that way. And when you show up together and you start putting training on and you start doing it in such a fashion that people realize, oh my God, this is actually pretty cool. And you're not belittling people. You're actually explaining things and giving them the reasons why, So one of our big pushes, as an example, was everybody has the Halligan hooligan problem. We had a roof hook issue. And we were using pipe poles, which is great for pulling rigging out of the water and doing shit like that. Or if you got wire lap, we don't have that, So going to the Z head made a lot of sense for us. And guys would focus on it. Well, what if you hit something that's, that's live wire and electric? That's the metal pole and this and that. And you're going to get naysayers. And eventually the skills and the way that you guys handle yourself, and it starts showing up on scene.
Yep.
And the cohesiveness, people take notice of that. Is it a small deal? Yeah, it is a bit small deal. But you know what? It's a deal that's well within your control and your grasp. Your company starts with you, and then influencing people on your company, and that company starts to get noticed. And people talk, and they're going to want to know, what are you guys doing that's so different,
And nobody wants to suck the most. Nobody wants to wear the shirt that says we're the shittiest crew.
We suck. Yeah, we suck, and we're proud of it. No, that doesn't, people will take notice, and they're going to start wanting to know how you're doing it, and you start talking to them. And before you know it, one company, 2 companies, then a battalion, and it just moves on, When you don't have the direction that Scott has from above, then you just take care of what you can take care of. That's all that you can do, and people will notice, and hopefully things change,
Yeah, I think we're lucky. I think there's a group of us coming up from the bottom of the department that have the same mindset and want to get things going in the right direction. A couple of them are on here tonight, and one of them's working. He's actually stepped up as my DC tonight, but I think there's a few of us that can get this thing going in the right direction. It's just it's frustrating sometimes, to be honest with you. I mean, and I'm sure you've all felt it and stuff like that, but it's when you get this pushback from people, it gets frustrating. It just weighs on you, but you just got to keep your head down and keep chugging along and keep doing what you're doing and you make it better.
And Travis, what you got to be able to do is say, man, I'm at the top of my game. I'm doing everything I can. I'm the best firefighter I can be. And that's going to rub off to the junior guy that comes in. And then it's like Rick said, if you have a really solid fire company and those people start getting promoted and they go off into other companies and they're going to take that with them, that subculture, man, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. There's no magic pill. There's no quick fix. It's got to be sticking to the same thing day in and day out and demanding excellence, having those standards, crushing the standard, and never straying from that.
Remember,
Have you read Extreme Ownership? You ever read that book?
I have.
I read it. I called it Extreme Leadership in my book, and so I've been getting my balls broke about that. I somewhere between me and the editor, we went from Extreme Ownership to Extreme Leadership, and it became Jack and not Jocko. But yeah, I have read the book.
But
I just didn't quote it right.
Yeah. Well, Travis, if you haven't read that book, that's exactly what Chief is talking about here.
I've read it.
You read it?
Travis got a heart on the second you mentioned it.
Yeah, I'm a big
testosterone flying around here tonight.
This is how toxic the leadership is at my department right now. We have a big issue. We have a big issue with our pay for our new guys and some other few little things. And you literally have captains telling guys who have been here for 5 shifts, man, if I was you, I'd go work for this other fucking department. They're making more fucking money over there. Why are you wasting your time here? Go over there. You don't need to be here.
Pay's not it. We've had the same issue. So we were Chief Thompson said that they haven't lost a guy in 10 years. We've lost.
And we're the lowest paid. We're the lowest paid in the area.
There it is. We've lost probably 10 guys in the last 10 months, and they're not leaving because of pay. They're leaving because they're going to. We might have had somebody that went to the colony, but they're leaving. I told my wife. I listened to you on John Spira's podcast.
Oh,
and I told
Fight Fire.
Yeah, I told my wife. I said I'm applying for the colony, and she goes, "Whoa, we got to talk."
Come on, brother. We'd love to have you.
He issues leathers. That's fucking badass.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, I'll get a leather helmet.
Chase, that's actually a really good example because you're talking about a guy with John Spira who was the way he was learning and performing was unacceptable to him. And so he took it upon himself to go ahead and make himself better. That in turn, there were some things revealed to him. So John and I are close because we're both men of faith. We both talk a lot about that. And I got a book, it's called The Leadership Lessons of Jesus Christ, that is fucking outstanding, okay? So it takes biblical referencing and adapts it to the military. It adapts it to professional sports. It adapts it to a lot of things. So back to John, you got a guy that it was unacceptable for his level. He opens up this podcast. And on top of that, he does this Fit to Fight Fire thing. And he has changed a culture in that area and nationally just based off of his desire to be better. So there's a difference between vocation and having a passion and a purpose around what it is.
And guys, the only way you're gonna change this, and Rick hit on it, you're going to have to do the uncomfortable thing. You're going to have to be the unpopular person. You're going to have to be the early adopter who says this is the way to go. And a lot of guys are going to look at you funny. They're going to bust your balls. But if you stick with it and see it through and it's the right thing to do, you'll prevail. And I have no doubt about that whatsoever.
Chase hit it. I mean, it's not about pay. I mean, we've had – in the last 5 years, I would say at least 15. I don't know if y'all saw it in the chat, but probably at least 15 people have left, gone to nearby departments. There's people even now going to the department that I left, and I didn't really leave for pay. I actually took probably a $2 an hour pay cut to move to my current department, but I worked up and I'm making more than I was there, or I would be there even. And seniority wise, I'm about where I was there. But now there's guys leaving, going to make what I was making, and it's just not the pay. I mean, granted, they're leaving to make some more. They could make more than that here, but they're leaving to make a little bit more money. But they're just leaving the environment. I mean, and then a lot of our issue is you get a new guy, somebody leaves. It's our Station 3. Nobody wants to go to Station 3. I turned down a promotion today to go to Station 3, and nobody wants to go out there. A new guy gets stuck out there instead of being and it's just a 2-man company out there, and they just get demoralized and they're ready to go anywhere but here. And I know it's not really too much we can do about that, but a lot of it's just the culture. I mean, I left where I was. We were kind of in a rut, and again, it comes back to our training chief. He asked if I wanted to come over, and I told him I'd think about it, talk to my girlfriend, my wife now, and decided to make the leap, and I hadn't regretted it a day since. I mean, it's a more organized structure, training. Just I know a lot of the guys, and it's if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it exactly the same.
You know, you make a great point, and I expect our guys to do quality training every day, and you've heard me say that before. But my responsibility is I manage the culture every single day. And I've written articles about don't neglect the culture even for a day. The culture influences everything we do, and everyone in the organization influences the culture. There's few things more important than that culture. And I can tell you that firefighters, 10 out of 10, will leave pay for a healthy culture every time.
Every time.
I forget the study.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
I forget the study, but there is this. I took the Captain Dugan's class a couple weeks back. Pay is like the number 4th or number 5th reason why people will leave departments. The number 1 reason people leave departments is their boss / leadership.
Yep.
So when you have guys in your leadership telling these younger people, man, you should leave. You should go to this other department. At that point, it becomes not about the pay. It becomes about them saying, well, if this senior guy, this captain is telling me to leave, then I should fucking go.
Right. And we have people like that, even people that I feel like were good captains or are good captains. They just have that attitude sometimes, and it kind of drives me nuts. But it's a guy that it's a guy who's recently retired, and I would have worked behind him every day of the week. But he just kind of had that attitude as well.
Those fucking guys, when they retired, because they've been so fucking demoralized and shit, their retirement's not going to go well. They're going to fucking end up turning to drinking or drugs or fucking their divorce or suicide or whatever.
And wishing they would have done the right thing.
Yeah, well, the implications is that sometimes in a toxic environment like that, sometimes the best thing you can do is cut bait and fucking run. Because it's not going to change. You're not going to change it. And you have to do what's in your best interest and other people's best interest.
Right.
You know? And I mean, it's not a common philosophy that people buy into, but I have seen that shit play out over and over and over. I was at a meeting prior to coming here. I was late. It's a bottles and badges meeting. We had 36 fucking guys in there. And most of them know what gun oil tastes like. That's the effect that you have on people when they don't have the fucking proper leadership and the mentoring. That's what happens. That's why you control what you can control, because what you're working on is yourself. If you can't fucking fix yourself, Benny said it, if you can't fix yourself and you can't come to terms with that stuff, there's nobody in the world that's going to fucking do it for you. Do we like having a group of people? That tribe, is it important? Absolutely. I agree with it 100%. But man, some places are just so fucking toxic. You're not going to do it alone. And
amen, brother. Amen.
You know.
Amen.
Gentlemen, I got a jet. I love y'all, and I thank you very much for having me here. God bless y'all, man.
Thanks for letting me watch you smoke your cigar, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Hey, Rick. I'll see you at FDIC.
I'm hoping. I got some medical issues that are coming up that I don't want to let out of the box and shit, but I just had to cancel Los Angeles and Kansas. because I got some shit I got to deal with. But I'm hoping that I get. I'm hoping I do make it to FDIC. I love you.
God bless you, brother.
Good night, y'all. Thank you, man.
Come on, guys, Firehouse.
All right. Good night.
So in regards to, like, we were talking about the pay, and I kind of hit on this whenever we were talking on the page about the mentorship program. If we can change the environment, we could change the environment from the bottom up. You just got to look at yourself as a thermostat, not a thermometer. Don't sit back and say, yes, this place sucks. Set the environment of your station, and your recruit won't quit you if you give them the right environment.
I like that analogy.
We've got a rookie at my station, and we run 3-man crews. So it's a company officer, a driver, and a firefighter. And right now our firefighter is a rookie. I've convinced my senior firefighter, guy that's got a couple of years on, to do the traveling. And so I've got this rookie every day, and that guy is my freaking shadow right now. It's because of what you're talking about, man. It's just trying to, I don't know. I don't want to sound like I think I know everything, because I definitely don't, but I know more than a guy that's been here for 6 months, and he sees that too. So he's my shadow. And it's really cool too, to be on the other side of that also, and have a guy that kind of appreciates what you say too. And it's because you know what you're talking about when it comes to those things too. You can't bullshit them, because they're going to call you out on it. But so it humbles you to the point where I've gotten phenomenally better at my job in the last year. And part of it's because I've had this kid with me, for this 19-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid. He can't even drink a beer yet, 20 years old. And, I've got him at my station with me, trying to learn from me. Because my company officer, I'll just say it, he's one of my best friends outside of the job, but he doesn't do shit around the station. He's 10 toes up, and his duty day is breathing, So.
I think it's like becoming a parent. I mean, you realize you're responsible for someone. If not you, then who? Who's gonna train him? Who's gonna make him a good firefighter? When he goes to another station or goes to another truck, is he gonna be a SAC? And they're like, oh, who trained him? And I want to be surrounded with guys who are competent and good at their job. I think I said it in the last thing, but I think every company should think they're the best company. I mean,
yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
But I mean,
you want to be the go-to guys. You want to be the go-to guys that when you show up on a fire, whatever it is, the incident commander, the other companies know you're going to get it done, and you're going to do it with the best effort. Right.
And I mean, everybody likes to be that guy that when nobody knows an answer, they come to you. I mean, everybody wants to be that guy. I mean, I know, and some young people don't like to take that kind of instruction, I guess. I mean, I know some people at our department have tried to kind of weigh in on something, and people have kind of fought back a little bit. But I mean,
you shouldn't have a voice yet. You haven't been here a year.
Say that again, Matt. I'm sorry.
I said, you get the ever so common. You shouldn't have a voice yet. You haven't even been here a year.
Yeah,
right. That's a big problem, man.
You got 2 fucking minutes in the fire service, and I hate hearing people say that, because as much as I believe in the old school feeling of, hey, you're a rookie, you should keep your mouth shut and learn, and God gave you 1 mouth and 2 ears for a reason, and I need to take that advice for myself sometimes. But everybody comes to the job with experience and can show you something you don't know. So why are we telling these guys, you just going to sit there and keep your mouth shut? I would rather say to somebody, hey, look, keep your mouth shut, ears open, mouth shut. But if you know something or think we can do something better, open your mouth and hey, we'll give it a shot. And if it works, cool, look at that. We both got better. And if it doesn't, then we know it doesn't work, but we can move on from there.
I mean, Grant, there's a time and a place for everything. I mean, for a new guy to, don't do whatever, but I mean, there's a time and a place. I mean, that's like Matt and Travis, y'all know. I mean, and Alan, if you're still in here. I don't think so. But like that's like when Devon came here. Devon was a new guy. I didn't know much about firefighting. But if I had a rescue question and it was something mechanical, I know that's the guy that I'm going to ask, just because he's got experience before he came here. Just because he's new to the fire service doesn't mean he doesn't know anything about anything.
The bigger problem with that is you're telling these guys to sit down and shut up, and you got 2 years and no mouth kind of thing, and then as soon as they get off, well, I'll speak for my department at least. As soon as they get off probation, off of their first year, then they're driving the truck. And you've told this guy
driving super early, even all before probation.
You've told this guy for a year, sit down and shut up, and now you put him in a position where he's got to make some fucking decisions now.
Yep. And you got guys that are scared to ask questions. I mean,
yeah, like what?
We got guys their first fucking day on shift, they're told, hey, you need to drive this fire truck. Guys have never driven anything bigger than a fucking Honda Civic, and you're going to put them behind the wheel of a 40,000-pound fire truck and say, drive it to this. Not only are you going to drive the fire truck, you're going to drive it to your first ever fucking fire, and then we're going to get you there, and you're expected to pump the truck, pull the line, get on the nozzle, and go ahead and go in there and fight the fire.
I don't know about y'all, but my first 10 or 15 fires, my foot was bouncing the whole way there. It's like somebody shot at me. My foot wouldn't stop bouncing the whole way. Luckily, our trucks were so underpowered that they stay pegged anyway.
Anybody who says that their foot wasn't bouncing or that they weren't nervous on their first 10, 15 fires, whatever it is fucking lying to you.
I still get nervous on fires, guys. I still get nervous because things can go bad. Don't ever get so comfortable on a fire where you don't think things can go south in a real hurry.
It's definitely a different nervous, though. My first fire was a 3-alarm restaurant fire, I think. Luckily, probably best for me. I got stuck in filling tankers because the hydrant wouldn't sufficient.
Three-alarm restaurant. What restaurant was that?
South China.
We got a picture that hangs in all our fire stations, and it's a picture of Scott Tanksley, who worked for Dallas Fire Rescue. And it was 4 years ago. It was an icy night here in Dallas, and he went out on the engine. I think he was on 12 engine, and it was a car stuck on a bridge. And Scott stepped off to help this car, and here comes another car in, plows into him, knocks him over the overpass onto I-20. And we put the picture of his son talking to all of us, thanking us, saying, you know, the best day can become the worst day that quick. And we can never forget that. We can't let that stifle us and prevent us from being aggressive. But don't ever, ever, ever get where every time you go out the door, you're not giving it 100% of your confidence, your focus, your frightness, your gut feeling. Because, man, it can change in a heartbeat in that quick.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, we'll go ahead and we'll start wrapping up here. I try and keep these things at about 2 hours. I mean, we could all sit here and probably talk all fucking night if we wanted to, but got to cut it off at some point. I thought
Did we ever talk about mentoring?
I feel like Kyle's been driving for like an hour.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff, guys.
Hey, if we're closing out, one thing that I wanted to mention earlier, I got cut off, was can everybody hear me okay? I'm in the truck.
Yeah.
Is that guys have forgot what it's like to have guys respond to their own family's house. You know, and one of the biggest things that is a benefit for me and the guys that I train and the guys that I mentor is my entire family lives in my fire district, besides my dad, my brother, and my mom. Every other member of my family lives in my fire district. You know, the majority of them live in my first dude. So when I'm preparing a new guy for the job, I'm preparing that dude to run a fire at my grandmother's house. I'm preparing him to run, medical calls to the members of my family. And that's where a lot of guys have forgot that they just think this is a damn job, and they don't realize or even recognize the fact that you're responding to someone's family. And in my case, it could be one of my own, and I think that's the biggest gap that we've had for a lot of people in this business is they forget why they're here. They're here to represent someone's family when they're not able to do so, or to perform as if they were responding to a family member's home for any type of emergency. and it is our emergency. So if anybody ever told you it wasn't your emergency, you got on the wrong fucking job. You know, so that's just my 2 cents on that. Sorry I had to go earlier, guys, but I've been wanting to say that for a minute.
Yeah,
That's
dude,
perfect.
I
That's a
agree.
perfect way to close that. It is your emergency. We all took the oath. It's your emergency.
Amen.
You're absolutely correct, man. And the oath you took was not a ceremonial high five. You have a responsibility to the people in your district, man.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah.
And let me add this. We can't save everybody. And even on our best day, we're still going to lose. But the best we should be able to do is provide hope and let the people that we protect know that we've given it 100% and they've got everything that we have. And if we don't do that, then we're falling short.
Well said,
Right.
Chief.
I don't want that feeling of being inadequate and losing somebody or whatever. I mean, that's like the one in Florida. Like to be in that position of being the operator or the firefighter of that first 2 truck, I couldn't even imagine.
But we also got to know we can do everything right.
Right.
We'll still lose people and still people die. But
Right.
we gave them hope that,
Right.
that we gave them everything we have.
There's a difference in, like you said, doing what you're supposed to do, and you're not going to save everybody, obviously. But in a situation where if you did what you were supposed to, not to Monday morning quarterback it, but if you did what you were supposed to, then you'd make the grab of somebody that was 5 foot from the door.
Yeah, man, you got to work with the mindset that critique yourself on everything. I've never made a fire where I didn't think afterwards, man, I wish I had that one back. You know,
Right.
I could have done this better. I could have done that better. And you have to constantly be your biggest critique. And if guys don't give a shit, the attitude that, everybody showed up, the fire went out, and nobody died, that's not good enough, man. It's not good enough for me. It's not good enough for my mom's house. It's not good enough for my grandma's house. Well, so why should it be good enough for anybody else's?
Right, because there could have been somebody in there.
Absolutely. The fucker's occupied until we say it's not.
Right.
We have to operate with that mentality. And, a lot of guys lose track of that when they start talking about the smart, aggressive stuff. And, man, I'm going to try to keep it nonchalant and not trying to keep it clean here, guys. But a buddy of mine from Magic City Truck has a philosophy called DBAP, and it's don't be a pussy. So if you go in every aspect of the job and think aggressively and what I would want somebody to do if they were standing in the front lawn of my house, you're going to make the right decision.
10-4. Well, I want to thank everybody for just, taking some time out of your day. I know everybody's got busy schedules and whatnot and chiming in here. And I think the more we do these things, the more steam they're going to pick up and the more people we get on here and just have these kind of conversations where everybody can kind of sit around that virtual table and just bullshit and shoot the shit. I mean, look, we started off with 2 topics. I think we touched on about 100 fucking different topics tonight. And that's great because that's the way the Firehouse goes, right? You start sitting down, you talk about one thing, you're talking about something completely different. I think we'll definitely bring up mentoring again because I think that we got a little off track with it, but I just think that's a big topic for people to discuss. I think there's a lot to go into that. So I think next month we're going to bring that back up. And we'll go from there. But I just want to thank everybody again for being here, taking some time out of your day. And when you go back to work, everybody stay safe. And, as long as you're doing the right thing, you'll be all right. Keep your heads up. Keep moving forward.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Chief, I really appreciate it. Thank you
very much, Chief.
Yeah.
What Travis said.
Thanks, everybody. This was awesome. Thank y'all very much. Really good. Hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever this has been.
Thanks, Chase. Yeah, we'll keep it going, and every month we're gonna try and keep doing one of these things and coming up with different topics and stuff. And like I said, hopefully it keeps getting bigger and better.
Thanks, Kyle. Have a quiet night.
Yeah. Yeah, you just jinxed him.
That's all right. I get off at 7 a.m. It could be a ball buster. It'd be all right.
There you go. All right.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, good timing. Look at there. That's almost gone.
Hey, man. Hey, brother. Cheers. Right here. There you go.
Oh, yeah. His looks good. I don't know what it is. It looks
I got to end it from my phone because I have had to do this from 2 different fucking things.
Nice water, Kyle.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.